Have you ever wanted to grow zinnias in your own garden but weren't sure how to get started, or you just want to know more in general about zinnias? In this video, I'm going to help you build your zinnia knowledge and show you how to sow zinnia seeds step by step today. Hi there, I'm Sean from Spoken Garden, and my wife Allison and I are partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden. We want to help you become a better gardener and grow the best fruits and vegetable crops yet this year. So let's talk about zinnias. Now, before we show you how to sow these zinnia seeds, there's a couple things we'd like you to know. First, zinnias are considered an annual type of flower, and they're hardy in zones 3 through 10. Now, they're native to Mexico, and they're a really fun and popular plant for a lot of gardeners to grow. Zinnias in general are easy to maintain and grow, and they're fast growers, which makes them really fun to grow in your garden. They like to grow in full sun locations, and they need about 6 or more hours of full sunlight. They like rich, well-draining soil, and they have average water needs. Now, the zinnias we're going to show you how to plant today are called Exquisite, and it's a Zinnia elegans species. It's an open pollinated heirloom variety. This zinnia produces double flowers that go through many different stages of different shades of pink throughout the whole growing season. These zinnias will grow up to 30 inches tall and 6 to 8 inches wide, meaning it has a very upright type of form. Now, like most Zinnia elegans species and cultivars, Exquisite needs to be planted in the spring, and it'll flower anytime between summer all the way into the fall. Now, zinnias in general, and Exquisite specifically, are great for containers, ground beds, and cutting gardens. They're drought tolerant and heat tolerant, meaning they pair really well with other plants with those same needs. Other plants to pair them with include blanket flowers, black-eyed Susans, cone flowers, coreopsis, and many others. Now, like most zinnias, Exquisite is definitely rabbit and deer resistant, and it's a great pollinator attractor, including bees, hummingbirds, and butterflies. Now, when sowing your seeds, timing is very important. So if you're going to sow them indoors, you need to sow them 4 to 6 weeks before your average last forecasted frost date. If you're going to sow them outdoors, you can direct sow them after the last frost is passed and your daytime temperatures are at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. So let's sow these seeds indoors. You're going to need either seed trays or just seed starting soil in a larger tray, and we like to pre-moisten our soil to make sure that that moisture is already in there or started, so then when the seed goes in, that moisture is right there and in contact with those seeds. We're going to use our favorite seed sowing tool, the Diby XL, and we're going to sow our seeds to a depth of 1/4 inch. So that means we're just going to press down some holes here to plant these seeds into. And we're going to place 2 seeds in each hole to make sure that at least one of these germinates during the process. Now we'll cover these seeds up, and these seeds should germinate anywhere from 7 to 10 days. Now, our very last step is to water these in nice and gentle so we don't displace the seeds. And if you can actually keep these seeds at a temperature of 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, that will really help improve germination of your seeds. Now, as your seedlings grow, you want to make sure that you keep that consistent watering so you have that consistent growth and they're not stressed out. Now, once your zinnia seedlings have grown about 2.5 to 3 inches tall and they've developed at least 2 sets of leaves, you can think about transplanting them out into your garden. But before you transplant them out, you need to do what's called hardening them off. And this is a way, and it's a process to get your plants ready to be planted out in your garden, and they're acclimatized to your garden. So this is a 2-week process where you'll start bringing your zinnia seedlings out and set them out for at least 1 hour or 2 in a full sun location. As the days progress, you'll keep them out a little bit longer every day for that 2-week cycle, where at the end of the 2 weeks, you'll keep them out overnight, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, you can plant them out into your garden. So now that we've hardened off our seedlings, let's transplant them. We're going to put them in this container right here. We've already pre-moistened our soil, so make sure to do that before you plant your seedlings into your containers. Now, to get these seedlings transplanted, we're going to use our favorite tool, the Diby XL. We're going to use the transplanting end, and we need to remember that these seedlings need to be spaced at least 6 to 8 inches apart. So we already know, we've already done our spacing on this container. It's a 12-inch container, so we know that we can space these basically crisscross from each other right at the ends, and we'll put one right in the middle. Take your seedlings in their seedling tray, and we've got one of those right here. We're going to press, this one's set up where you press on the bottom and then you gently pull on the top, and we've got 2 seedlings here, so we'll take that smaller one out and we'll set that off to the side. And then there's no need to break up these roots. We'll leave them alone so it doesn't get too stressed as we're transplanting it, and we're just going to place it down inside the planting hole. A key factor to understand when transplanting seedlings is you want to make sure to match the seedling soil level in the seed tray to the soil level in the container or out in the ground bed wherever you're planting them, because you don't want them to be planted too high above that soil level or too far down below, because it'll lead to different kinds of issues later on. So make sure those soil levels are even. Now, if you have two seedlings growing in one cell of those trays, you can just gently grab each one by the top of the soil up top. Don't grab the stem directly, grab the soil, and then just gently pull them apart. And then you should have two separate root systems to plant two different seedlings. The very last step when planting seedlings is to water them in. Now, when you're sowing your seeds directly outdoors, you can do this in a container, you can do it out in a garden bed, you can even broadcast the seeds out in an open area to give it more of a natural look. Now, we're going to sow our seeds today in this container. You'll need to pre-moisten your soil, as we've done here, and you'll need to have a container big enough or space big enough in your garden where you can space out and direct sow your seeds at least 6 to 8 inches apart. Now, here we've got that, and we're going to measure it really quick with our hori knife, and we're going to go from edge to edge, and we've got just about 12 inches here, so we'll be able to do a seed on each side, and we can do that in kind of a square pattern, and we might even be able, we should be able to put one right in the center. Now, just like indoor seed sowing, when you're sowing your seeds outdoors, you'll need to still place them 1/4 of an inch below the soil surface, and we'll just make our little indentations in those general areas where we already pre-measured down to 1/4 of an inch. Now we'll place 1 to 2 seeds in each of these 1/4 inch deep holes. And then we'll cover up each hole and water them in. Make sure to keep up your watering and keep that soil consistently moist so you have your best germination rates and your seedlings start to grow within 7 to 10 days. Now, in the weeks and months to come, you'll need to make sure to keep your zinnias well watered. Keep them on a regular watering cycle. You don't want them to get too dried out. You want to help them get established in your garden. And on those hotter days, you'll need to make sure you give them a little extra water so they don't get too dried out or too stressed out. Now, the key with zinnias is you can let the surface of the soil dry out a little bit, but after that, make sure to get them some water. Now, along with watering, make sure to use a well-balanced fertilizer and put them on a fertilizer schedule. This can be every week or every other week with a liquid fertilizer, or if you're using a time-release fertilizer, that's fine too, and every time you water, they'll get a little bit of fertilizer. You'll also want to keep up your weeding around the plants, whether they're in containers or on the ground. You don't want them competing with other plants for nutrients, air, water, and sun. Another fun way to keep up the weeding around your plants is to add mulch around them. If you do this, this will help keep not only the weeds at bay, but it'll also keep moisture in the soil longer, and it'll make it more readily available for the plants to take up, especially during those hot times of year. Once your first flush of flowers are done and the flowers have withered, make sure to come through and deadhead those zinnias, because that'll help encourage more flowering throughout the rest of the growing season. So make sure to keep up that deadheading. During the growing season, make sure to look out for powdery mildew, botrytis, bacterial leaf spot, and other types of diseases. Also make sure to look out for aphids, leaf miners, and thrips, amongst other pests that zinnias are definitely susceptible to. Now, once your zinnias have died back down to the ground this fall and they're completely withered, you can pull them out of the ground, roots and all. To harvest your zinnias as cut flowers, you'll need to make sure that the stems are at least 12 to 18 inches long before you harvest them. Also, you'll need to use clean and disinfected pruners and a bucket full of cool, clean water. Make sure to choose the flowers that just opened for a longer vase life, and don't cut just before or while the flowers are opening, since they won't open any further after being cut. Be sure to harvest in the early morning after you've watered them, when the plants are least stressed and the stems are nice and strong. Now, if you need more flower planting, growing, or harvesting tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out their planting guides. And we hope this video was helpful for you to sow your zinnia seeds. And from us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thanks for watching.